Did we get our first look at RDJ's Doom? James Gunn hints at a Man of Tomorrow's plot and shoot date, while Matt Reeves remains coy. Plus, this year's Emmy winners. All of that and more coming up right after this. Welcome to Multiverse News, your source for information about all your favorite fictional universes. My name is Matthew Carroll, and with me today, I've got Haley Hobbs. What's happening, Haley?
Not much. We're just here to talk about all the things. There's things to talk about, and we're here to do it.
Thank you for your deep description on that.
You're welcome.
And J. Scotty St. Clair.
Yeah, I watched too much TV as a kid. I know that. So I don't know if anybody remembers the Mazda commercial from the mid-2000s, but doom, doom, doom. Yeah, doom, 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 doom. Doom, 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 doom.
I don't think I know what you're talking about.
Zoom, zoom.
I knew it was, I knew it was going to be for a very select group of people.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have a wildly specific commercial to cite in my introduction.
I got you, Scotty.
Thank you.
Well, welcome anyway. We will allow you to stick around even though you don't have a oddly specific commercial.
Hey, if I'm allowed to stay for watching too much TV as a kid, certainly you can stay.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of seats at this table.
Indeed. All right, and we like to shout out a 5-star review every week. Schwing Jester says, if you're looking for your weekly fix of all things nerdy, look no further. The Multiverse News podcast is like hanging out with your smartest, funniest friends who are just obsessed with Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and everything in between as you are. They serve up the news with a side of witty commentary and a whole lot of passion. Would definitely recommend to anyone who speaks fluent fandom. Thank you, Swing Jester. The smartest friends? You gotta get
kind.
Better friends. Yeah.
They must have listened when somebody else was on.
Yeah. Whatever that panel was when we did all guests.
Yes, I remember that one.
It's a takeover show, you know.
Yeah, indeed. All right, well, let's dive into our first story. Images and video featuring promotional artwork, including a laser light show of Marvel's Doctor Doom, surfaced last week during Walt Disney Studios' Marketing Expo in Shanghai. While many fans and outlets of varying reputation and credibility were quick to assume that the label and imagery as officially tied into Avengers Doomsday and our first look of Robert Downey Jr. in the role, there is nothing in the aforementioned marketing materials that brands the content as Marvel Studios. Still, the concept art and accompanying light show are exciting as potential teases of what this highly anticipated version of the villain may look and feel like when he finally hits the big screen next December. But what do we here on the panel have to say? Doom hot or Doom not? Or Doombot?
I don't want to ruffle any feathers here, but I am firmly in the Doom not camp. I've watched the light show. I have, I haven't gone over it with like a micro or a magnifying glass. I don't know why I was going for microscope there.
It's a real
to look at all the fine details and everything like that. But there's no Marvel Studios branding anywhere on it. It is Marvel. So I think the fact that this is a marketing expo coming out of Shanghai that we knew nothing about going into it, I think this is just a case of, this fandom at its best and its worst. We can take whatever little minuscule detail comes out and run with it and make headlines about it. I do think in retrospect, it kind of speaks to, and Matt, you've talked about this, I really haven't, but I agree with you. I do think in retrospect, it kind of highlights how ultimately ineffective that post-credit scene was for Fantastic Four First Steps. Yes, it's exciting. Yes, it's our first look at Doom. Yes, it spells out the fact that Doom is coming, but that was really our first look at RDJ as Doom, and we have nothing to show for it. That's why people are latching onto something like this. It's like, yeah, you had the back of the character. We could make out the cape. We could make out a little bit of the armor, but you had him holding the mask. So why have him hold the mask if you're not going to show his face? Like, it really just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So all that being said, I like the image. If this is the direction they choose to go with it, I would be totally down for that. Doom hasn't changed a lot from what I've witnessed in the comics. It's a pretty classic, iconic design. There are little things that you can do here and there to plus it up and make, more intricate designs here and there. But the big thing for me was the fact that there's no gold if this is the direction they're pursuing. So it looked like it was all silver, green, very lacking in the gold department. So again, I'm kind of in the camp that I think this is just something that they saw that looked cool. They may have taken elements from various versions of the character throughout comic history and said, hey, this is what he might look like. This is just something to get you excited. But it does make me wonder if they are pursuing this version that doesn't have like the gold emblems, and not that they have any like super weight or significance that I'm aware of. It does just make me wonder, is this the end-all be-all version of Doom, or is this a very special version of Doom, and post Secret Wars, post Doomsday, we may actually have somebody else fulfilling the role of Doom long term? I mean, these are just the questions that are coming up for me, because ultimately I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill here a little bit.
Yeah, I think this image is nothing, honestly. They are doing the One World Under Doom comic event right now. That's ongoing currently in Marvel Comics. It kind of looks like that Zoom, except that Zoom. You got me, Scotty.
Dr. Zoom.
It kind of looks like that
so
Doom, except
fast.
he's also like Sorcerer Supreme in that run, so it doesn't at the same time. I just saw this and I saw the clickbait and I clicked on it and I was like, catfished. Straight up catfished.
Look, U.S. movies have not been doing the greatest in China, and a lot of it has to do because China does not necessarily want U.S. content to be in their movie theaters a lot of times, and so they will choose to straight up reject or heavily edit films from other places in the world, not just the United States, when they make their way into their theaters. And so I think what we have here is a case of a movie studio, Disney, wanting to get very far ahead of a release, which they need to generate a lot of money. China's got, 15% of the world's population. Like, you need that market if you're going to be successful in your worldwide box office. To some degree, it's why we saw such a diminished return on Superman overseas. Like, it did well in the United States, but it did not do very well in other places, and that's because it wasn't necessarily popping up in other markets that it should have been in, right? So I think you've got just playing the long game here. They know that this movie's coming. They know that it's going to be their biggest release in the next few years. They need it to do well. It's staking the future of Marvel, and they need China to see it. Like, they need it to be in that market. And so I think there is a push here very early. That being said, I'm with you guys. I don't think this is our Dr. Doom. I think it's a generic Doom. It looked cool, but I think it looked like it was just lifted from a comic book page. I think it looks like a copy-paste Doom, and I think they took some images. If you look at the light show, it's like an Avengers logo, an X-Men logo, a Fantastic Four logo. It's just all the generic Marvel stuff, and then it's like, Doom ripping out Thanos' spine, which is just from a comic, it's just like, so I think it's just, hey, do you know who this guy is? You don't? Well, he's going to be in a movie in a couple years that we really want to be in this country. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. I do not think this is our first official look. We will probably not get that until the next summer, probably.
So you guys are poo-pooing this pretty hard, and this highlights the difference between this show and the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, where we did almost an entire episode breaking down what went on in this laser light show.
But we need both,
That's right. That's right. It's the hype train. I do think that it is a lot of times these marketing expos, they will have marketing, they will have details about plot and such, because for one thing, a lot of times they show these toys way early. So, there's all kinds of stuff going on at this marketing expo. I don't think the Doom matters at all. I don't think that matters at all. But there were a number of other things in the laser light show that seemed interesting to me. One of which, and like I said, you can go listen to us talk about it for like 30 minutes, me and Jeff, on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast like 2 episodes ago. But the things that interested me most is the imagery of the shards that you see. There's imagery of shards flying in, and it is very reminiscent of the What If shards that represent different universes.
I agree. Yeah.
And then they take all those little shards and build a big tower behind his throne where he's standing. And it's like, you see this big tower built of shards, and to me, that is just putting some sort of knowing that we're heading towards Secret Wars, it feels very much like Doom doing something to take the universes and somehow combine them, which we assume is something they're going to be doing with Secret Wars, because that's what Secret Wars is. And then at the end, the logos fly by, yes, and it is very generic, like you said. It's the Avengers logo, and then it's the Fantastic Four logo, and then it's the X-Men logo. But it was cool. It was the X-Men logo from the X-Men movies, the 2000s X-Men movies, which was kind of cool. And so it is like, yeah, it was the original like X logo from the first X-Men movie.
Okay.
And so it's basically highlighting all these characters. But the one I thought was most interesting was Black Panther was in there. And like,
yeah,
if they have, and that Black Panther, to me, I don't know for sure. That Black Panther looked male to me. Like, it did not look like Shuri's head. It looked more like the original Black Panther, which made me think if each one of these images flying at the screen is a different universe. It has been a number of years now. Bringing in a alt variant of T'Challa would not be out of the question, and those are my favorite little highlights that me and Jeff like going kind of frame by frame, looking at all this weird stuff that's going on in this laser light show, found interesting. Could be nothing, could be just somebody being like, I know the basic story that's going to happen and putting it together. But those were interesting elements if they are actual elements of the thing.
Yeah, I won't disagree with you. I think we were pretty critical of this one, but in the great scheme of things, like the lesser of two evils, I would rather have this all day than what the Russos did. Like, get out of here with that blurry image.
Yeah.
Like, this may be nothing, but at least we can talk about discernible
It's more
details.
nothing than that was. Or
It's
less
funny
nothing than that was.
Yeah.
It's funny because we're about to talk about James Gunn in a minute, and he did the exact opposite of what we're talking about now, which just gave us too much detail on a movie that's in 2027.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I did look up, because I was while we were talking, I was like, how much? I knew Superman did pop up in the Chinese market, so I was like, how much did it make? Superman made less than $9 million in China.
Whoa.
It bombed in China. And I think, again, it's one of those, there's a lot of reasons, there's a lot of other reasons, why that could be. I mean, I think, American media isn't at an all-time popularity level overseas, but I think like that is a note, I think, that Disney and all of studios are taking here, is like they're looking at that and they're going, we can't have that. We can't put Avengers Doomsday over there and make $9 million. Like, we've got to start promoting this thing now, even if it's just generic Doom or whatever, and we're just copying and pasting them from like clip art or something. Like, we got to start making people know who this guy is before this movie
But promoting
hits.
it to do what if they're not going to release it in China?
Well, I think they will. It's just, you're going to get into a whole thing.
That's up to their government, right?
It is going to be up to their government, but it may be sometimes there's been compromises. There's been altered versions released in China before of films, like Marvel films before, especially ones when you're talking about like some of the Captain America ones and things like that, like with the government type stuff and that type of angle. So it's kind of a mixed bag, But I think that's what we've got here. We've got a very early push into that specific market.
That'd be so frustrating as a geek sitting in a country where the movies come, but they're not always the same version, and sometimes they just don't come. So it's like you watch a universe and there's just pieces missing. Ugh. Before we move on, I gotta say that chalkboard thing.
You loved it?
You're like, I've been zooming in. I've been Dr. Zooming. Call me Dr. Zoom.
I also poo-pooed that one real hard, and then me and Jeff couldn't help ourselves, and I think we landed on like an interesting theory about what that might mean. So, but I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna say it here. Check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast from last week. It was a fun one. All right. Well, let's move on to our next story in a completely unexpected turn of events. During a recent appearance on the Howard Stern Show, James Gunn dished out more details surrounding his recently announced sequel to Superman, titled Man of Tomorrow, including an intended April 2026 slate to begin filming. The filmmaker shared, it is a story about Lex Luthor and Superman having to work together to a certain degree against a much, much bigger threat. He said, And it's more complicated than that. It's as much a Lex movie as it is a Superman movie. I relate to the character of Lex, sadly. On the other end of the DCU, during a red carpet appearance at the Emmys, Matt Reeves shared star Robert Pattinson's reaction to reading the long-awaited script, saying, "He's Batman, and if he doesn't like it, it's no good." I was super excited. I thought that he would really like it because the things it does for his character, for Batman and for Bruce, have never been done before in this way. I had a feeling that he would respond this way, but the fact that he did was incredibly encouraging. Sounds like both filmmakers are putting in the character work. Are we encouraged by the claims of heroics like we've never seen?
Yeah, so one of the angles we talk about on this show a lot is James Gunn being a little too forthcoming with details of the movies and the irons that he has in the fire. And this, to me, is the perfect example of that. We have a movie that he announced, last week, the week before last, something like that, that's going to come out in 2027, July of 2027, so basically 2 years away. And we already sort of know a key plot detail from the movie, which is that Superman and Lex Luthor are going to have to work together, that they're main characters, and that they're going to have to stave off some sort of a bigger threat that is threatening Earth in some way. And, at the end of the day, is it that big of a deal that I know this information? Not really. But I just always think it's crazy how early he jumps the gun, that's pun intended, with trying to get this information out there so early. We're in the middle of Peacemaker. We have Supergirl still that's coming next summer. And we're already learning key plot details for a movie that does not come out for 2 years. And it's just, it's kind of, again, it's like, this is kind of how he is. It is what it is. It's not good or bad. It's just kind of how he is. But I just always think that's crazy how far he shoots his shot with these things and explaining what he's got cooking so early and starts the conversation. I mean, I was sitting here thinking wonder who the villain could be. Maybe it's going to be Zod. Maybe it's going to be Brainiac, whatever. I mean, he's probably going to tell us in 2 weeks, and we won't even have to wonder at some point, And then with the Batman as the other side of the coin, this is a film that is also coming in 2027, interestingly enough, just a few months after Man of Tomorrow. And so, again, it sort of highlights for us that, James Gunn has been named the head of DC. We've ended the Snyderverse. And we're going to have 2 Superman movies and 2 seasons of Peacemaker and a Supergirl movie before we ever get the Batman Part 2. It just kind of, the stretch of time that this has been, we've talked about it off and on for a long time, but it just is, we're starting to finally see it come together, and I think that's exciting. I hear Matt Reeves saying things like, we've never had Bruce and Batman kind of in this situation before, and that's interesting, right? That idea of we're trying to tread new ground, we're trying to explore new things. Everybody seems excited about the script, so I'm excited that it's finally getting off the ground, especially with us all being people who loved the Penguin. We'll talk about that when we get to the Emmys here in a minute, like Chris Milioti having a big win there. So yeah, we've just got a lot of interesting things on the horizon on DC, but there's still a really long way away, and that is something that you just have to keep in mind.
When it comes to James Gunn, he talks too much. We know that. That is a fact. I'm not going to argue that. But in this case, I do pause for a second. I wonder, is this a case of him lacking self-awareness and just talking too much, or is he actually being somewhat intentional with his strategy here? Because we're 2 years away from this, less than 2 years away from this thing coming out. He doesn't really have the runway that he had with the first Superman. So I'm wondering, we talked about it when Corrin Sweat got cast, when Brosnahan got cast. That was one of our earliest big episodes for us. So I'm wondering, because he can't really recreate those castings and the buzz that's going to, drive. I'm trying to think, when did we get our first trailer for Superman? I think it was December 2024, and the movie came out in July of 2025. So I suspect it'll probably be a similar case with Man of Tomorrow. But yeah, James Gunn is just going to do what he does and create conversations where there may not really be one. And I guess I didn't bristle against that all that much because yes, he's giving us details that we don't need to, but it also felt just kind of like duh based on the images that you shared last week. Well, clearly that's what we were setting up here. So yeah, it didn't offend me too much. Now, looking over at Matt Reeves, as much as I appreciate what he's saying a little bit more, I think this is kind of the opposite. I think he was caught on the red carpet, to your point, Matt, with your, not to, judge you or criticize you or anything like that, but you had a little bit of a hard time reading the quote. And I think that just speaks to the fact that he was just kind of spitballing and just like, yeah, I've been working on this script for so long, I can't really say anything about it. So let me just say something very positive about it. And I struggle to think of, too many scenarios or instances where Batman or Bruce Wayne is being confronted with things that we've never seen before. Maybe not on the big screen, but, the character is so long lived through the comics and cartoons and whatnot. It really does make me question what he's referencing there. But again, I'm going to be firmly in the camp and put it out there. I really think upon revisiting the Batman that he was setting up the Court of Owls and Hush. And to his point, those are definitely characters that have not gotten any big screen or live action treatment. So I could be down for that.
We've seen that from Reeves too, by the way, like him getting ambushed on the red carpet and kind of
being sure.
like,
yeah.
humana, and then like, what comes out, you're like, what did he just say?
Yeah. Right.
It just seemed like a clarifying statement, honestly, from James Gunn. Like, you just finished a movie where you put this guy in jail and then you put a image out that they're teamed up. And so I think he was just like, yeah, actually, they're going to be together. Like, that's all it is. And the Matt Reeves quote is weird because he doesn't actually say whether or not Robert Pattinson liked it.
Yeah, it's very...
It's just inferred. Somebody get that guy a PR
He's like, he'll come
person.
around.
Like he liked it.
It actually kind of reads
grow
like
on
he
him.
didn't. But I'm sure he did.
It's funny.
Yeah. Maybe he never said he liked it. Maybe he's just assuming that altogether.
Left him on red.
Would have liked it a lot more a year earlier.
He's like, who's this?
Aw.
I got a new phone. It'll have my numbers in.
I did an accent for Mickey 17. I don't know if I can go back to Bruce after that. I'm sorry.
Well, my only thought here with the James Gunn bit is I actually think this is a kind of message discipline in a rare case for James Gunn, because that image came out a few weeks ago, and then he stuck with that one piece of information that everyone was already assuming from that. So if you're releasing something to tease it, and then the one thing you're giving a quote on is that same thing, it feels like message discipline. So hey, good on him. With the Matt Reeves thing, like, yeah, saying your Batman likes the script for his Batman movie feels yeah, I bet he does. I bet that he will say only positive things about a movie he's about to be in. So yeah. I'm excited for both these movies a lot. The one thing about like the DCU and being the hype train and needing to put something out is just like, you got Supergirl coming out. Like, give me more information about that. Like, I feel like I know more, well, except for based on comics knowledge that like Woman of Tomorrow being based on a certain comic, I feel like we know more about there's more like pictures and stuff out already for the Superman 2, Like, give me, I would love that hype train to start for that.
He didn't write Supergirl, did he?
Nope.
No.
That's right.
He did work on it.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I think I said this last week, but I do think a lot of this too is him trying to drum up support for Peacemaker. And I saw an ad even on, I think it was Facebook or something today, that said like it was for Peacemaker, and the caption was something like, "Hey, Superman fans, let's keep the party going. Like, check out season 2 of Peacemaker." Like, it's very, clear that they're trying to sort of mesh these two properties together and say, come to this one. I mean, you said it, Scotty. He doesn't have as much runway. He's building a universe. We're going to talk here in a minute in the lightning round about the future of Warner Brothers, which is not necessarily going to be at Warner Brothers. So, he's going to have to convince his new bosses, I would imagine, that this is a universe that he needs to keep and he needs to invest in. So, all the success he can pull in is necessary.
Indeed. All right. Up next, it was a night of celebration for newcomer series at Sunday's 77th Primetime Emmy Awards, as HBO Max's rookie series The Pitt dominated the drama categories, while Apple TV Plus's The Studios swept comedy honors. Netflix's limited series Adolescence led the field with 6 trophies, including wins for writer, producer, star Stephen Graham, and HBO Max topped all networks with 9 total Emmys, followed by Apple TV Plus with 7. Notable firsts included Tremel Tillman becoming the first black man to win a supporting actor in a drama for Severance, Seth Rogen claiming his first Emmy ever for The Studio, and the Penguin's Kristen Milioti bringing home the only award for the series for her portrayal of Sophia Falcone. With a reported average 7.42 million viewers, the broadcast enjoyed an 8% increase in viewership over last year's ceremony. Were we here among the awards enthusiasts?
We weren't here in real time because I didn't know the Emmys were happening on Sunday, but I think that 8% increase, today I was watching Nate Bargatze's opening monologue, which is less than 5 minutes, and it's not even really a monologue, and then his opening skit that he did. And a lot of the YouTube comments were that they watched the Emmys for Nate Bargatze, so I think the Emmys can welcome him back as host. I think from what I've seen, he did a nice job. I saw articles just like dragging him through the mud for the job he did, and I thought both of the things he did were funny. So, especially the skit. The skit is really good. It's about like the history of television. He calls CBS the Caucasian Broadcast Syndicate or whatever. It's hysterical. So, I think good on him for that. Not a lot of surprises here. I do think Kristen Milioti's win for the Penguin is interesting only because the Penguin won a lot of awards last year. So I don't know if it didn't overlap with the Emmys last year in time or what that was about. But I kind of wonder if the Television Academy was like, you guys did okay last year, but good on her for that. What we don't mention in here is the awards that Andor won, most notably writing for the episode Welcome to the Rebellion, which is the one where they get Mon Mothma off Coruscant. So a really good year for our sci-fi, our fantasy, our hero stuff. It seemed like a fun night, which is kind of a change from recent awards shows.
Can I throw out one criticism of Nate Bargatze as I watched the monologue, which I did not watch live, but I went back and watched later, like the highlights from the ceremony. So on a late night show, this is probably what you saw him getting dragged for. On a late night show the night before the Emmys, he made the joke that he was going to give a certain amount of money to the Boys and Girls Club of America as a donation. And then he made the off joke of like, if some, like all of these actors get 45 minutes in their acceptance speech, and
45
for
seconds.
every 45
40
seconds, for every second under, I'll increase it by this much, like $1,000 or something. For every second over, I'll decrease it by $1,000. So that's a funny joke, okay? But then he actually did it for real, and I think the problem was that was not a good look. It kind of fell flat. The audience did not think it was funny, and I think a lot of
I disagree.
I think a lot of the actors took issue with it, and you saw John Oliver at the end. He said like F Nate Bargatze and all this stuff, and it seemed like he meant it a little bit to me. And I thought
funny, and I work in nonprofit.
I saw an interview with him today, and he was like really on board. He didn't seem.
So when it kind of got to the end, he made the big announcement. All right, so if we can fast forward to the end, he made the big announcement of like, all right, listen, I'm going to actually donate this amount. And it was a big amount. And it was like, okay, it's like $300,000 or something. So it's like you end it with like, all right, yes, we're donating. But what I didn't like about it is I don't think it's cool to put those people in that weird situation on stage of like, feeling like you have, because it became a talking point all night. It was like you had people winning Emmys for the first time and going up there, and then they're hitting 45 seconds, and they're like, you know, all of a sudden they had the negative number and stuff, like, and all this, like, it was like, I just felt like that wasn't a good look. Like, I did not like that. I didn't think it was funny. Like, I thought it was kind of rude, to be honest, like, to the people that were getting the awards, and, you know, opinions differ on that. Like, other people might have saw it and thought it was hilarious or whatever. I thought it as an idea, I thought it was funny as a joke, but then to commit to it all night, and he kept referencing it over and over, like, because he had to go back to it over and over, and I was just like, man, like, I don't think you want this to be the centerpiece of your like I want you to do bit because he is funny. I was like, I want you to do more bits. Like I don't want this to be your thing. I don't want this to be your shtick. So again, is it a small nitpicky thing? Yes, it is. Is it something that not everybody's going to agree with? Probably. But that was my takeaway. I did not like that. I felt like it didn't work persons. But if we're
Boys and Girls Club of America.
I mean, hey, look, they're richer. They're richer at the end of the day. So, but yeah, like awards wise, I mean, the best supporting the best lead actor in a drama series and the best lead actor in a limited series. If you would have asked anyone going into that night who's going to win that, they would have told you that Adam Scott was going to win for Severance and Colin Farrell was going to win for The Penguin 100%. Like that was like the everybody's prediction was that was going to happen. So when they didn't, I think those were the two big talking points as the big upsets. Now Severance still did very well. You mentioned Tremel Tillman, Britt Lauer had a really funny moment of like she had her acceptance speech and she wrote "Let Me Out" on the back of her acceptance speech in huge letters, which is hilarious. Like the studio was huge and that was great because we all love that show. So a lot of and I have not seen The Pit, but I probably will now. But still, like I think those two, agree or disagree. Those were definitely the big talking points coming out of the Emmys. As I guess if you want to call them snubs or whatever, those were probably the two ones that people are walking away saying, if they're using that term, those are the ones that they're probably talking about.
Was there like a clock visible, or like was there time? Was there money ticking down?
They
it
were
wasn't
timing
live.
it behind the
they
the
kept
booth.
bringing it up behind. They kept bringing it up, and eventually it got down into the negatives.
Like after they're done with their conversation, though.
No.
Or like during their thing, it was up on the board during their speech.
I don't know.
I don't
That's what I'm
think it
asking.
was up while
No,
they
it
were
wasn't
talking.
like in the corner or anything.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think
they
it's
brought
funny.
it up, but they brought it up constantly. Like it was constantly like, well, I guess we lost this much money. It's like, dude, like this person just won an award they've been working for their whole life. Like, stop nitpicking them for a second. I don't know.
Yeah, but they always do this. I mean, it's not that different from like playing music really loud when they
Yeah.
when they go.
And then
over 45
Adrian Brody being
seconds
like,
to me.
"I'm not done. I've done this before." Like, sit down,
I don't know.
Adrian
I
Brody.
disagree because it seems like you're like taking money from disadvantaged children.
But that is such
But
a
he
small
did-
amount of money for that room. Walk up there with a fucking check. Like that's the move. Like go up there with a $20,000 check and be like, "I'm buying 20 more seconds. I need to thank people," and then just go. Like keep going.
I think
Literally,
Tina
as
Fey,
a
I think, said
fundraiser,
that
I
at
find
one
this
time.
to be very funny because, too, at the end of his instructions, he's like, "So I'm not saying don't take your time." He's like, "I'm not saying take your time either." Like, it was very funny to me. The way he did it was because at first I was like, this is kind of off-putting, but the longer it went on, then when he got to the end, I was like, this is funny. And as a fundraiser, like, you want the gimmicks that's going to get the money, and he did twice the amount he said he was going to do. That's great. I think
but it
it's
was at
funny.
the end. That's what, like, I don't know. I just felt like it's like the damage had been done at that point in my mind.
I haven't seen
Like,
it. I've definitely. Did anybody else watch
so
the full
funny.
thing?
I did not watch it live. No, and I
you
kind of
did not watch it live.
I did the highlights. Like I watched like the sped up
gotcha.
version or whatever.
Yeah, it probably depends on to me like how often it's brought up and stuff. Because I can definitely see like bringing it up every commercial break or something and it being like a funny running gag. But if it's like constant, it being a little more annoying. So, and like I don't know. I need to watch it because I think it's a really funny idea. I saw his beginning monologue, but I didn't see every time it was mentioned or whatever.
And watch the skit. The skit is great.
The skit is funny. Yeah, it kind of harkens back to that SNL skit that he is famous for.
Yeah, the
like that George
Washington-
Washington one or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically just exact parody of that one. Yeah.
I did not watch the live broadcast or the stream after the fact, but I saw some excerpts from some speeches here and there. So I was not a part of this 8% uptick in viewership, but I do kind of wonder in retrospect was maybe part of that painted by my experience with the Oscars with Hulu last time where they cut the Oscars off as the final award was being given. Maybe. But the other part that I don't have too much more to add in terms of the winners and losers or potential snubs that we're discussing here. I am glad that you mentioned Britt Lauer there, Jay, because like I was actually really glad to see her win. I mean, obviously Tremel, so much love for him. We talk about him a lot, but her specifically, like, I mean, she gets a lot of praise for her performance, specifically when we're watching the show. But I think in hindsight, the heavy lifting she was doing is having to be this one that is like any outie and you're constantly guessing. Like that is just a tour de force performance. So I'm really glad that she got recognized for that. But I do find it funny how much we ended up talking about Nate Bargatze and this little ploy he did, because again, I didn't watch, but David Brewer in the chat is saying that they did have the ticker up there during some of the speeches. So maybe that was just for comedic effect if somebody was going particularly if they were going particularly long and pulling an Adrian Brody. But I'm only making the connection now. Right before we hopped on, I was reading an interview with Seth Rogen where he was talking about he and his wife's decision to not have kids, and it's like, would we be happier with kids, would we not? And he kind of made the argument, I think we're pretty happy without having kids. And I didn't make the connection, but I'm like, is the reason he's talking about kids because of this whole boys and girls club? Because I saw when he gave his speech, he was like, we're already in the red. So, screw these kids. We're already in the red. Everybody take a turn.
Article,
I think that's an older article. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think I've seen that one before. Yeah.
Okay. I just happened to see it now. But yeah. It is at the mention of the studio, Hollywood loves a circle jerk, and they're not really great about taking a joke at their own expense.
They also like to be like, we don't like awards for our art, and then get up there and make long speeches.
Exactly. So without having seen it, I do think it's probably a combination of like, it was probably really funny to some people in the room, more so for people not in the room, but you probably did. Like, I could see, again, I didn't see it, but I could see John Oliver or even like Seth Rogen, like in the moment being a little like, you're going to cut my speech short. And then they walk it back afterwards. Like, oh, it wasn't a big deal, but who knows?
Sure. Yeah. I just to give her one more shout out, of all of the speeches I saw going through my feed today, the one that like most moved me or whatever was just like the excitement in Kristen Milioti. Like she was so excited to be there, and I just think she deserves it. I think she's awesome. I've loved her stuff for a long time, and just in random episodes of things, she pops up and it's just always like an amazing addition to whatever she's in. And like the Penguin giving her that chance to shine and giving her a chance to win on Emmy is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I know you're the one that watches Hacks, but didn't Hannah Einman win her first award for that show when it's like been the Gene Smart show all the way? So yeah, even as we're talking about like newcomer series being strong out of the gate, we're seeing like some, series that have been long-standing winners getting some recognition elsewhere. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
I wonder how people on The Bear are doing. Are they okay? Not being the best comedy, quote unquote.
Well, it feels like it's been a couple years now because the Hacks has beat them a couple times, right?
They still won a lot last year, I think.
Last year we were still having.
I think Gene Smart wins for Hacks often.
Gene Smart wins, but they still win for best comedy. Okay, gotcha.
Stephen Colbert, I wanted to shout him out too. He won an award for best talk show, and the room went absolutely ballistic, which was all, like in a good way, like awesome. Like they were all doing like Steven, and it was knowing what he, his show getting canceled and stuff. Like that was a talking point this year. Him being in the limelight for that, that was cool. Seeing him get that award, because I mean he's a legend, for the career that he's had, and I would not be surprised if we saw him get a show on like Netflix or some type of streaming service picked him up as having some sort of a talk show and tried to explore that space. Prime Video, Apple, whoever, somebody probably is going to scoop him up, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's so too.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, given the timing of the cancellation, like there's a potential we could be having this conversation again around this time next year, right? Like he could win the Emmy again for the actual final season, no?
Well, if Kristen Milioti won for the Penguin, then
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure when he actually wraps up, when his cancellation, but he might be able to, based on the runtime of his show, which is still on the air, I believe. So.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if that like groundswell of support is going to persist through a full calendar year. If we're seeing, this win as a reaction to what transpired.
Yeah.
You mentioned, Haley, earlier that the Penguin won last year. Is that right?
Well, it won a lot of awards last year. I'm wondering if it just missed the Emmys. But if it did,
It came out September 19th, so I think it was out like after the Emmys.
Why did I think it was in January?
Yeah, September 19th, 2024.
What is time? I've been in Jumanji. I don't know where I am.
I was just saying, I was curious. I was like, how would that win for 2 years?
But it's interesting, like, that it won so many awards last year, like, in that spate. And then this year, this is the only one it gets. Like, it's just, there's nothing wrong with it or at all. It's just very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to do a better job of separating the Golden Globes and the Emmys in my brain because I was like, I definitely remembered Colin Farrell, Carolina and Craft Services. I was like, oh yeah, that's the Golden Globes.
Now, Haley pointed this out to me, but it is a travesty that Seth Rogen did not thank Sal Saperstein when he accepted his award.
I was about to ask.
That is your chance to do the bit. Like, that's the bit right there, and you missed it. Come on, man.
Poor guy.
I almost wish someone else had done it other than him, because him, it would have been a little too self-referential.
It would have been
or like
really
if
funny
Adam
if, like,
Scott
Adam
had won.
Scott had won.
Yeah, like if he had won for Best
great.
Actor in a drama and done it, because he is the one who does it in the episode of the studio.
Yeah, that
was
was
Adam Scott.
100%. All right. Well, coming up after the break, we got the lightning round. We've got Super Mario Galaxy announced. Henry Cavill's Highlander is delayed due to injury. Paramount might buy WB, plus much more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Multiverse News. We have a Patreon, you guys, and Haley Hobbs is going to tell us about it. What's the Patreon got going on?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm not doing a Ryan Reynolds impression, mostly because I can't, and secondly because I refuse to anyway. But please join our Patreon. It's at patreon.com/multiverse-newscast. It's just $4 a month, which is less than $1 the show, and we put a lot of work into this show every week. So we really appreciate those who do support us, and if you do, you get an exclusive sticker, you get ad-free episodes, you get access to the live stream because it goes away once we're done on Tuesday nights, and you get a lot of other stuff, plus just contact with us. So join us over there, $4 a month, patreon.com/multiverse-newscast.
Yes. Join us over there. And to shout out a patron of the week, Vanessa Rose. Thank you so much for being a patron, Vanessa.
Vanessa Rose.
Seal. Kissed by a rose in there.
That's what I was.
Can you splice that in?
I went to the exact same place.
We're on all the same wavelengths.
Very nice, guys. All right. Well, our Spotify poll for this week was who is the man of tomorrow, and we had 15% of you said Lex, 15% of you said James Gunn, 20% of you said someone else, and 50% of you said Superman. We discussed last week that's the title of the movie, but what does it mean? What does it mean?
Still say it's somebody else.
We're all the man of tomorrow. You're the man of tomorrow. I'm the man of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now there is a DC character named Tom Morrow.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
Of course there is.
Comics,
He can see into the future or something. Is that it? I don't
No,
know.
he's like a scientist type. He makes
He had an accident, and then he got precog.
something like that.
Love it. All right, well, let's dive into our lightning round. This is where I'm going to read a story, and the people on the panel have a chance to claim that story by shouting out their name. And if we do not claim it, but we just cannot resist a take, we get one rebuttal per lightning round. So here we go. The freshly merged Paramount/Skydance is exploring a potential bid to acquire all of Warner Brothers Discovery, according to the Wall Street Journal.
Haley.
Jay.
Oh, or I have to say this.
Okay.
They want that Tom Cruise contract back.
That's the whole reason. He's like, get me Tom. I don't
need
care how much
Tom
it
back.
costs.
It's the impossible mission.
So I went and read this article, and Warner Brothers is estimated to be worth $41 billion. They have $35 billion of debt because they're just packing it around, I guess. And that's according to the New York Times. But Larry Ellison, who of the Ellison family, who owns Skydance, just bought Paramount. He also just became the world's richest person after a little stock surge and passed Elon Musk for that title. He's worth $400 billion. So, buying Warner Brothers makes sense from an IP standpoint. Paramount is a little light on the IP. Warner Brothers is very heavy on the IP. And we've said from the beginning that David Zaslav was brought to Warner Brothers to flip it like a house. I mean, that's why he was brought in, was to make it more valuable, flip it to someone else. And this is the most likely buyer, just based on kind of the money that's at hand and what Paramount's looking to do. I don't think it's good for the industry personally, just because of monopoly, and now there's less places to pitch your thing, and hundreds of layoffs will ensue in the industry, and all of the things that happen whenever these mergers happen. It also brings up weird political questions, because we already know that the Ellisons did a lot of schmoozing with the current presidential administration to get the merger passed, and that worked. And so now this is going to have to be approved as well. So that has to happen. So then you're talking about this new company would have control of CBS, CNN, a lot of news in America. So you got all that weirdness kind of going on the side. That's a conversation. I also just read, literally as we was getting ready to do this, that the Ellisons are the ones that are trying to buy TikTok in the United States. So you've got a rapid expansion of the Ellison. If you don't know who they are, you're gonna know who they are. Over the next year. So I think this deal does happen. I mean, I think it will happen. I think it'll get approved. I think if you could fast forward 2 years from now, we're probably talking about Paramount, Skydance, Warner Brothers as like a conglomeration. But they want to compete with Disney, and this is how you do it. You have to buy up all the IP like Disney did. This is the Fox deal, basically, right? That Disney did.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a rebuttal. This is really upsetting to me. Mostly hearing that news about the TikTok. I hadn't heard that yet. That seems like a very insider deal with the Trump administration. They've kept it secret. They did all these back channel deals. I heard about the deal being announced, but I hadn't heard it was the Ellisons. And there's been a lot of talk. Star Trek is one of my favorite universes, and it means a lot to me. And the fact that they bought up Paramount has been upsetting to us. / like we don't know, but we know he's been hanging out with Trump, but we're like, okay, maybe it's just like the ideology of Star Trek is very different from the ideology of the current administration, and it would upset me to see. One of the things that upsets me right now in Star Trek is their lack of vision and their lack of stances on things. They sort of are a little more middle of the road than they used to be, and I miss what Star Trek used to be. And we've been trying to look into Ellison. We couldn't really tell his ideology. And we were like, maybe he's just schmoozing with them to get the deal made. But this TikTok thing and this other merger just sounds like it's more of the media collapsing into one billionaire's pocket, and that's not good for any of us who aren't billionaires. So
black hole.
Yeah.
Funny enough, three of four of us on this panel are not billionaires.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Well, now 4 out of 4 of us are going to chime in on this one, because as I was making the outline, I was wondering, I was like, should I make this a feature? And clearly I should have made it a feature, but for a much less refined rebuttal, just contemplating Warner Brothers has Cartoon Network, Paramount has Nickelodeon, so those two entities under the same house, hurts my brain.
It's wild.
So,
I mean, it's a
your
lot
HBO,
of IP.
Your HBO, your DC.
Food Network,
I mean,
Discovery,
and think
TLC, like all of the...
Dune, Harry Potter. I mean, it's the IP, Lord of the Rings. Like the IP is strong at Warner Brothers, and that's what we said at the beginning. Like David Zaslav, this was the whole the merger where they wanted their stock to be more. To be worth more. And so the idea was that this was a company with a tremendous amount of debt. And so he was brought in to increase the value, to cut out all the bad IP, to get, HBO going, to get DC going, to get all these things going. That's why there's a Harry Potter series, there's Lord of the Rings movies. All those things are popping off now because there's a surge here going on. So then they can sell the thing for more, and, he'll get a fat payday, and everybody who has stock in Warner Brothers will get a fat payday. And that's that. That was the plan all along, right? And that's not a secret in Hollywood. Like, I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said 100 times before by people in the industry. So, in this, we're just seeing the culmination of that plan.
Get him. He knows too much.
Jay's the billionaire.
Hey, somebody's at my door. Who's here? It's late at night.
It really is super depressing to me, because this administration has been bullying media companies in all kinds of ways with these ridiculous lawsuits and such, and they're caving just because they need to favorable look by the administration. And it's one thing when you have to bully someone into submission, it's another thing when your billionaire buddy is just buying all the stuff who agrees with you on stuff. And so yeah, this is a dangerous thing happening. Not happy at all. I really think it's going to be bad for the world.
I thought I was so funny with my Tom Cruise comment, and now it's a real
That
downer.
was funny. That was
Yeah, no, you guys.
It's
all-
not
all
less
funny.
funny because of
Now
reality.
it's a downer.
Yeah, it's not as funny. All the stuff you guys are saying about the various IP is great. I just, it's hard for me to look past. It's hard for me to look past what it means for the industry and the politics in general and the news. God, the news. It's already disappearing so fast with the internet taking over social. It's just gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. All right. At least it seems like it's gonna be bad. All right. Universal and Illumination have officially titled the Mario Brothers movie sequel the Super Galaxy movie, taking its name from the Nintendo's 2007 Wii game, and setting an April 3rd, 2026 release date. The entire voice cast, including Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Day, and Jack Black, will return for the follow-up to the record-breaking original that earned $1.36 billion worldwide.
Scotty, this one actually surprised me pretty substantially. I was 17 when Super Mario Galaxy came out in 2007, but I didn't play it till many, many years later. So just in my Rolodex of Super Mario titles, there are so many places I would have gone first. Like we talked about potentially a Luigi's Mansion movie, which could still be in the works. But yeah, we had like Super Mario Sunshine, where you had the spray pack and we're taking care of graffiti on a tropical island. So the Mario franchise has always done and Nintendo at large, I will say, they've done a really good job. Where I think so many video game franchises and companies, it's just like copy and paste what's working. Nintendo has always been really innovative and on the cutting edge, not just with their gameplay, but with their concepts and their characters. So again, look at Mario. He's an Italian plumber jumping around these fantastical worlds, and now we're going to take him to the stars. So I like Mario pretty well, but it kind of is a sign to me that I'm an older Mario fan at this point in time. I'll have to ask my nephews what they think about this move with Mario Galaxy, because it's just unexpected to me. Like Rosalina, I know she's the princess in that game, but she's definitely popped up in like Mario Kart and the Mario Party games and stuff like that. But I just didn't realize that the Mario Galaxy characters were as loomed as large as they do. And I was just trying to rack my brain to think if there could be any potentially new characters introduced, and I think Rosalina is probably the big one there. So,
Amazon MGM's Highlander reboot, which was set to go into principal photography this month, will now be pushed into 2026 after Henry Cavill sustained an injury during pre-production.
Well, he can hang out with Channing Tatum, and they can get better together. I don't know why I said that like that, but there you go.
A24 has reportedly won the bidding war for Texas Chainsaw Massacre film and TV rights, beating out competitors including Jordan Peele and Taylor Sheridan. The horror studio's plans to first develop a series from Strange Darling director J.T. Molnar, producer Roy Lee, and Glenn Powell, though Powell will not star in the project.
Scotty, I can't imagine Jordan Peele is kicking himself as much as he was after he lost out on the opportunity to make Weapons. But on the surface, this makes a lot of sense. As a lifelong horror fan, I have definitely seen multiple iterations of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I thought it was a pretty well-established franchise. But as I've witnessed some discourse in the wake of this announcement, it kind of dawned on me how, I would say certain factions of like Gen Z have really like latched on to A24. And they were basically making the argument that there's probably people that are good, like, 5 to 10 years younger than me that really haven't been exposed to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that much, because we really haven't had that much in that world since the 2002, 2003 film. So yeah, it makes sense. And A24 seems like it'd be a good home for it. It has a reputation for being able to elevate horror, for lack of a better term. But there are a couple things that give me pause, like Strange Darling. I know a lot of people like that one. It was okay. I thought it was really derivative ultimately. And then, it's great that Glenn Powell is involved, but obviously I'd be more excited if he was in the project. Yeah, open the door for a new cast of characters to make their stamp on the franchise.
Glenn's like, I'm from Texas. I can produce this. I got this.
I will be critiquing those accents.
Oscar-nominated actress Mary McDonnell has joined the cast of Marvel's upcoming Vision series, The Hollywood Reporter has learned. At this time, her role has not been disclosed. Matt. I'm not aware of this actress, but this is not just me trying to plug, but we did do a big discussion this week on MCU Cast. I just want to plug it all this whole episode. But we did do a big discussion on the Vision series this week, and like there are so many cool things happening in this Vision series, and I wonder if she'll be another AI because there is now Friday has been cast, Edith has been announced, Vision of course, and Ultron and Jocasta, like just a lot of the various AIs from the world of like Tony Stark and Marvel have been cast, and now it's starting to look a lot more like a Vision family series almost, and like all this stuff. It just sounds really, really cool. And so I'm very, very excited for the Vision Quest. Looks awesome. Plus, it's going to be real Star Trek-y, it sounds like.
Isn't she the main love interest in Dances with Wolves?
Yes, she is. I'm looking at her IMDb page right now. She was in Battlestar Galactica, Donnie Darko, Dances with Wolves, Scream 4, Grey's Anatomy. You know, she's been all over the place.
Scream 4.
Good for her.
Oh, is she in Scream 4?
Scream 4. Kate Roberts. I don't know if that helps you at all. She was in Fargo. She was in Veronica Mars, The Closer. I mean, just all kinds of stuff.
She's done it all.
Fall of the House of Usher, most recently.
I believe she was the president in Galactica, right?
Yes, President Laura Roslin.
Yeah, that's it. She was really good in that. That's the only thing I think I know her from. Robert Redford, the Sundance Film Festival founder who starred in such movies as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Way We Were, and All the President's Men, and who won an Academy Award for directing Ordinary People, has died. He was 89.
Haley. I love Robert Redford. He was one of my old man crushes. What an actor, what a person, like what a human being, honestly. And for our audience, of course, he was Alexander Pierce in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, like you said, and brought like a real gravitas to that film that was such a step out from what Marvel had been doing anyway. Just really grounding that character. And yeah, this was sad. It's a bummer.
Yeah, he's just like one of the coolest people to have ever been on screen, like in everything even he was just like cool, like you were like, I want to be that guy. You know, like in everything he just always was like that in everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you've ever used that gif where it's the guy with like in the rugged gear in the woods that like turns at you and he's got the the bushy beard and he just nods and it's just like, yeah, that's a manly affirmation right there. That is Robert Redford.
He lives on in gif.
Just for those of you in our audience who
are like that guy
too young for even Winter Soldier. He's the guy from this GIF. Like you'd know him from the GIF, if nothing else.
Well, it was one of those things. Like I had used that so many times, and then like I learned, I was like, oh, that's Robert Redford. Holy shit, I didn't know. Yeah.
That's funny. Love that. The release of filmmaker Rob Savage's Other Mommy is being delayed from May 8th, 2026 to October 9th, 2026. Universal announced Tuesday. The film is being produced by James Wan's Atomic Monster.
Scotty, I didn't know anything about this film other than before hearing about this announcement about the delay. So, Other Mommy. That it just sounds very, very strange right off the get-go. But I do find myself a little conflicted because we're moving from May to October, and a lot of times that would make sense to release your horror film closer to Halloween. But we've been talking at length about how, like, this summer we had Final Destination Bloodlines come out in May and do gangbuster numbers. So I would imagine it's probably a case of the former. They probably have a fair amount of confidence in it. They just don't think it's going to, have the potential to be a summer blockbuster like we've seen a few horror films do. So it's probably landing where it needs to. And James Wan, like the guy, but Atomic Monster does not have the air of rarity about it that some other production companies have. So I'll check it out if it gets strong enough word of mouth.
Apple TV Plus's The Morning Show has been renewed for a 5th season. Matt, this show is still on? I had no idea.
And it's going to still be on.
I watched the first couple seasons, and I seriously thought it was over. I don't know why. I really thought it had been like over for a while. I did not know there were. I just looked it up, and yeah, there was a season this year, and I guess I did. I just completely missed it. It is so there is too much content in the world, and I feel like I watch this stuff pretty closely. And there's an and I see now why they're releasing this news. It's because season 4 is starting right now. Okay, that makes more sense. I saw 2025 and I was like, did they already have a season this year? Okay, the season 3 came out in 2023. I feel less bad now. But there's just too much content in the world, even for people who watch this stuff and then report on it every week. I just miss shows, and this show was wonderful. I really, really enjoyed the first few seasons of this show. So hopefully it's still great. In an interview on The Howard Stern Show, James Gunn revealed that he originally wrote the role of Peacemaker with Dave Bautista in mind, and even offered him the role before ultimately landing on John Cena after not being able to work around Bautista's scheduling.
Scotty, sometimes things work out the way that they're supposed to work out, and
yeah.
Would Bautista have been great? I'm sure he would have. We've seen as Drax, he can be a very, very comedic performer, but I don't know. I just really cannot see anybody else but John Cena inhabiting the role of Peacemaker. It feels like he was born for it, and I've been pretty impressed. I feel like it's been a really good vehicle for him to show his chops. In season 2, we've seen a little bit more of a dramatic performance from him, but I kind of rank the wrestlers turned actors in this way. I would say Dave Bautista is the best. He's the most well-rounded, right? He can do the drama, but he can also do the comedy. And then I think John Cena is making a very strong case for himself as the second. Then, the less said about The Rock, the better for me personally.
But Scotty, he's a dramatic actor.
We'll see about the Smashing Machine. I'm not sold yet, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm very interested in the Smashing Machine. It looks he just looks so different, and it's cool. Let's see how that like gets him out of his skin, I guess. Yeah. But I really love John Cena. He's amazing. I'm excited. I'm with you, Jay Scotty. I cannot imagine anyone else doing this role.
Well, it's also worth mentioning, we talked about it off air, but apparently Peacemaker has had like a number of like recasts in the final hour. We were talking about how Vigilante, like they shot large portions of season 1 before recasting with Freddie Stroma. And then James Gunn just said on the DC podcast covering Peacemaker, same thing for Michael Rooker's character, Saint Wild. Apparently they had somebody else in the role and then brought Rooker in at the last minute. So
that one's that's you call Rooker when you need like a clutch performance on a weird character. You're like, all right, this isn't working. Who can pull this off? We can't shoot it 3 times.
He's the most famous eagle killer in the world, and we need you to. And he's just like, I'm in. Don't even say anything else. Just put me in.
Yep. All right. Well, that's our show for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on Multiverse News. Let's go around and tell people where they can find our stuff online. What else we got going on? Haley Hobbs.
Source Pages is back. We did a Marvel Zombies primer for fun. Jay and I are doing the paper on Always Watching. Ashley and I are doing Outlander on Always Watching, and we dropped something on Twitch this week, so check that out. Busy.
Sweet. And J. Scotty St. Clair.
Yeah, over on the Always Watching feed, you can catch coverage of Peacemaker Season 2, which we were just talking about, and Alien Earth is going to be coming to a close in the next couple of weeks here, so that's bittersweet. And then I mentioned it on when we were covering the Peacemaker most recent episode, but I think I'm going to cover the Tron movies on Bingers, so look forward to that coming out.
Yeah. And Jay Sisson.
Yeah, check out that the paper coverage on Always Watching if you are sort of hesitant to listen or to watch a Office spinoff because you're like, I can't imagine that working. The paper works and it's great, and if you like The Office, I think you'll really like it. So consider checking that out and then joining us for watching it over on Always Watching, and then Commute the Podcast weekly on Mondays.
Sweet, we'll do it. And you can check me out, Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. I just needed a third time to plug it this episode, so go check that out. We did do some fun episodes. These last 2 have been really fun, just breaking stuff down. And check out Always Watching. I'm over there doing a bunch of those series too. So just subscribe. Just everything on Always Watching is fun to listen to. So check it out. And we'll be back right here on Multiverse News next week. Peace.
You stay classy, Multiverse.
Hey, thanks for listening to Multiverse News, or watching it, or whatever you're doing. Eyeballs or ear holes, whichever thing. We do this show every week, and we appreciate you listening. StrandedPanda.com is where you can find all of our podcasts. And thank you for listening. Check us out wherever you get podcasts. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the little bell icon, whatever you have on whatever service you're doing. Rate us, like us. We're really thirsty. That's what I'm saying.